Okay, I hope that you can hear me. I hear that this is anyway the biggest question in the whole Europe for the 2020. Everyone is all the time asking, can you hear me? And first of all, I'm so pleased to be here today, and I would like to try a little bit my Lithuanian language, improved, hopefully, language skills, which is Laba diena, ponios ir ponia. So I hope that I didn't mispronounce too badly. Indeed, within EIT Food, we have been also hoping that to be a partner in these times of a crisis is obviously one of the tasks that we keep very close to our heart within EIT Food. And I have to say that back in March 2020, when this whole COVID situation started, we sort of obviously didn't know, and we still don't know exactly where this pandemic will develop and what might be the precautions in our lives, in country economies, of course, and for EU as a whole. At the moment, we are at the end of November almost, and we may observe, of course, the second wave hitting hard, and partial lockdowns being imposed in various countries. And of course, this is also one of the reasons why we are doing this online. Well, despite the very tough times and negative consequences of COVID-19 on various sectors of the economy, we believe that there is also space to discuss the opportunities, which this disruptive situation really reveals. I know we are here obviously to talk about digitalization, and that is certainly not the least, let's say, forward-looking innovation that everyone is focusing on and trying to find ways of overcoming all these challenges related to COVID-19, but also maybe to see that how can we accelerate through a digitalization, let's say, certain number of things that we need to do. And then we can talk obviously about sustainability, higher traceability of food products. And of course, these are also very much on the focus on the digitalization. So why, as you can see in this food foresight, we basically started to do a food foresight study together with Deloitte. And this food foresight study is actually focusing on CE countries, so what we friendly called as countries that are under the regional innovation scheme part. And it is actually really at the same time fantastic to try to draw the picture of the opportunities that this COVID-19 situation can also raise. And obviously, we are certainly all aware of the, let's say, very dramatic as well things that are happening due to this COVID. But let's focus on the opportunities. So then on this kind of like after this, we are conducting this study, we could kind of like see four kind of scenarios, and two of them are rather extreme. This is where we are looking at the distortion and disruption, and to see that, let's say, conservative consumption, consumer consumption patterns undermine growth potential of processors and manufacturers. Disruption of seasonal labor flows is, of course, one of these things that we all have actually experienced. Investment in food processing and agricultural facilities stalls. And then in the full recovery, which is on the kind of like maybe the positive side, if nothing kind of like almost changes, we would be increased food traffic and growing consumer spending. Power leads to consumption growth. Again, I mean, we think that this is nevertheless going to happen. Production surpluses dissipate, and then also labor flow normalizes. Now, whether this is going to really happen is going to be seen, and how fast this is going to happen. And we have also like two maybe moderate scenarios, and I have to say that maybe there's also something that is really interesting in these modern scenarios to recover. One is, we call it a new consumer, and then the other one is kind of a new rule book. And for this new consumer, we can observe a kind of like larger online shopping capacity, which is required, and those of the retailers who are not yet, who have not yet actually, let's say, changed their systems and adapted to the new world, are already probably paying very, very hard consequences. Then there's going to be like positive demand shock, or can be a positive demand shock for agriculture sector due to preferences for more local products. Then also growing importance of goods with nutritional values. And then, of course, these altered consumer patterns necessitate food producers to be repositioned output. In this other, when we talk about this kind of new rule book, we are not trying to be, of course, what is going to be on this new rule book, but and that is yet to be defined by all of us through the innovation. But we can certainly see a certain number of things, that is growing wage pressure on farmers, risk of trade complications, and HoReCa negatively impacted. This is for sure. That has happened. How that is going to be transferred into something really positive wave, and how fast the new type of a recovery will happen, is yet to be, of course, seen. And then there is a very important part, which is policies and regulations part, and this is also where obviously the work with the EU officials throughout the European countries, whether it is with the EIT organizations like EIT or something else, is extremely valuable, because the messages and the collaboration really has to happen fast. Then if we look at a little bit the situation on the agri-food sector in CE countries, there's a few figures. I'm sure that you actually know these figures, but nevertheless, I would like to bring them a little bit up, because on this we can see that the food production has been rather resilient in when we look at the COVID crisis, and there has been like a 13% of production for foodstuff in April 2020, and it really, dropped only 13%. That's what I wanted to say. And then when we think about the decrease of durable consumer goods, at the same time, it fell, more than 43%. In Lithuania, these figures were minus 3% and minus 34%. So this is really kind of like interesting as well to see what is happening. Nevertheless, when we look at the stable retail sale for food, it actually retail sales for food, beverages, and tobacco proved more resilient than non-food retail trade. So you can see the figures here. And then in Lithuania, the figures were 88 and 80%. So, okay, these are just a couple of figures to kind of put you a little bit in the flavor of looking at these things from the figures that we were able to measure after the first wave. Now, I promised you to look at the opportunities, and so when we look at the opportunities for sustainable recovery, I think in many ways, and I'm sure you all agree with me, that we cannot necessarily go only back to how things were. It's going to be a new world. It's going to be a new way of addressing things. And this is obviously where digitalization is going to help us. In this slide, you can see we have divided it, of course, in kind of like 3 different areas that are very important for our agri-food sector. There's agriculture, food processing, retailers, restaurants, and consumers. And in this slide, and what we try to express here is that when you look at the kind of this potential new customer, more direct contact with consumers, economic of scale, and these are probably the areas where it's not only like putting pressure on agriculture, and but also like for the whole agri-food sector to see that, how we can transform these things. We also talk about our opportunities for local suppliers. So, where are we producing? Where are we consuming? Then innovations in the production process to increase resource efficiency and lower environmental impact. And of course, we also know at the same time that the pressure for the environmental area is like huge. And we also all know that we kind of need to change the way how we are going to do things in order to, let's say, look at the environmental areas with the, let's say, reduction of the gas emissions and zero carbon focus as well. We need to also maybe rethink about effective transport solutions and also to establish self-sufficient, let's say, country and region, let's say, supplies. We have to also think about more informed consumer choices. And this is probably one of those things as well that is going to accelerate really tremendously now after the COVID crisis. We need to also think about higher interest in local retailers and markets. And this is where as well consumers have reacted during the COVID. They say, we want to support our local retailers. We want to support our local food markets. And I'm sure that you have experienced this one as well in your respective countries. We also see a growing interest in specialized stores and local restaurants. And then this fact that, the opportunity for digitalization is at the end, but it is actually applying for all these aspects. And then I know that our friends, for example, in R21 are very much focusing on this area and has been basically supporting a lot situation in Lithuania. And we know that Lithuania is actually extremely, let's say, advanced already in the digitalization of agri-food area. And this is, of course, happening also in other Baltic countries, but we see really a big transformation happening in Lithuania in this area. So this is kind of like probably very, let's say, obvious what we have listed here in terms of where the opportunities again can lie on the digital environment. Of course, e-commerce, connecting farmers with consumers, online tracking of transportation with the region, artificial intelligence in warehouses, allowing for better planning of stock and supplies, consumer more willing to buy food online. I mean, these are just a very obvious examples, but there's much more to happen. And I can hear, for example, what is happening in France, in Nordic countries, and basically the acceleration of digitalization should actually be very, very big through the artificial intelligence, basically through all kind of a form of devices, but not only devices, but also the way how we are going to use these devices and the digitalization to create this whole new world. So I think that we are only in the beginning of this journey when we only recently, obviously, published this Food Foresight report. There is also available a specific Lithuanian report, so I hope that you all can go and actually connect yourself and download this report from eitfood.eu/Food Foresight internet site, and it is on, it's available for free. There's a kind of a whole report, and then there is a country specific reports. And then we are also, if you allow a little, let's say, publication or publicity for a coming conference, which is Future of Food conference on the 1st and 2nd of December. And of course, you are also welcome to join there. So this is what I really had to say about this Food foresight, and that we perfectly align with you, and in any way we can support obviously our partners, our partner organizations, and regional innovation scheme countries, so CE countries and Baltic countries, in this journey for the fast and accelerated digitalization to make this agri-food sector a brilliant future sector. Thank you very much for your attention.